June 6, 1944. The ocean is loud, not with waves, but with fear. An American soldier grips his rifle inside a landing craft as it slams against the water. He has trained for this moment for months, maybe years. But training never prepared him for this sound. The sound of artillery tearing the sky apart. The sound of men vomiting, praying, shaking beside him. The sound of a ramp that is about to drop. This is not a movie. This is not glory. This is what American soldiers faced in World War II. They didn't fight because they were fearless. They fought because once the door opened, there was no turning back. American soldiers in WW2 are often remembered as confident heroes marching toward victory. But the real story is far more complicated and far more human. Most of them were young. Many were barely out of high school. They came from farms, factories, and city streets. They had never fired a weapon in anger. Some had never even left their home state. And suddenly, they were sent
across oceans to fight a war they didn't start, against enemies they barely understood, in places they could barely pronounce. When the United States entered World War II after Pearl Harbor in December 1941, the American military was not ready for a global conflict. The army was small, equipment was outdated, training was rushed, but time was a luxury no one had anymore. Within months, millions of American men were drafted. They were given uniforms, rifles, and a crash course in survival. Boot camps turned civilians into soldiers, but they couldn't erase fear. They couldn't erase doubt. They could only teach obedience. And obedience became survival. In Europe, American soldiers faced a war unlike anything they had imagined. The enemy was disciplined, experienced, and deeply entrenched. German forces had already conquered much of the continent. They knew the terrain. They had years of combat experience. American troops were stepping into a war already burning at full force.
It was chaotic, confusing, brutal. Soldiers advanced through hedgerows where enemies could be just feet away, invisible until it was too late. Artillery fell without warning. Mines waited beneath the soil. Snipers turned every open field into a death sentence. There were no clear front lines, no safe moments. Even rest was dangerous. At night, soldiers slept in foxholes filled with mud and rain. Rats crawled over their bodies. The cold seeped into their bones. Letters from home were read again and again, folded until the paper nearly fell apart. Fear was constant. Not loud fear, quiet fear. The kind that sits in your chest and never leaves. In the Pacific, the war was even more unforgiving. American soldiers fought an enemy that refused to surrender. Jungle warfare turned nature itself into a weapon. Heat caused dehydration and disease. Insects spread malaria and infection. The terrain swallowed men whole. Battles were fought island by island, inch by inch. Every cave could be
a trap. Every hill could cost hundreds of lives. Japanese defenses were designed not just to stop an invasion, but to bleed it dry. American soldiers learned quickly that mercy could be deadly. An enemy pretending to surrender could detonate explosives. A wounded soldier could still be dangerous. The rules of war they thought they knew no longer applied. This changed them. World War II forced American soldiers to confront moral decisions they were never prepared for. Split-second choices determined who lived and who died. Hesitation could mean death, not just for themselves, but for the men beside them. Survival demanded hardness, and that hardness followed many of them home. American soldiers were also shaped by leadership, both good and bad. Some officers inspired trust, sharing danger with their men. Others stayed back, detached, protected by rank. Soldiers learned quickly who they could rely on. But above all, they relied on each other. Brotherhood became everything.
and fought not for flags or speeches, but for the soldier next to them, the one who shared cigarettes, the one who covered them during an advance, the one who dragged them to safety when they were wounded. That bond kept them moving when fear said stop. As the war dragged on, exhaustion set in. Veterans of earlier battles noticed something new among replacements, fresh faces filled with confidence that hadn't yet been tested. That confidence rarely survived the first engagement. By 1944 and 1945, American soldiers were battle-hardened. They had seen too much. Victory was no longer exciting. It was simply something that needed to happen so they could go home. But even victory came at a cost. When Germany finally collapsed in Europe, American soldiers walked through destroyed cities and concentration camps. What they saw there changed them forever. The war was no longer abstract. The reason for fighting became horrifyingly clear. In the Pacific, the war ended suddenly, but the memories did not. Many American soldiers returned home to applause, parades, and celebration. But inside, the war followed them. Nightmares, silence, anger, guilt. What we now call PTSD had no name then. They were expected to move on, to forget, to be grateful. Most never talked about what they saw. World War II made America a global power, but it also left scars on the men who fought it. Scars that don't appear in photographs or victory speeches. American soldiers WW2 were not superheroes. They were ordinary people placed in extraordinary circumstances, forced to adapt, to survive, and to carry the weight of history on their shoulders. Their story is not just one of triumph. It is a story of endurance, of fear overcome moment by moment, of humanity tested under unimaginable pressure. And that is the real story.